Sustaining Creativity podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Evan Price, Artistpreneur coach. Please enjoy Evan Price. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity podcast. Today I am here with Evan Price, Artistpreneur coach, which I'm sure he will explain a bit more to all of us, but welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
I'm excited to chat with you about all of the things that you do and what being an artistpreneur is and how that shows up, and to just hear all about creativity and your experience of it. But before we dive into all those questions, why don't you share a little bit more with our listeners about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Well, my name is Evan Price, and I run a company called Artist Collective, and I oversee a lot of creatives. Our clients are everywhere from a vocal coach to producers to Broadway singers. They have a creative skill, and they are building their own business from that. And me and my team give them the framework to do just that, to build a business, create revenue from things that they love, their passion, their creativity. And been doing that for about 10 years in the business alone. But I started in my creative realm in this, focus about 14 years old. That's when I started my first company, which was a promotion company. And before that, I was drumming in bands. So I just came from the arts, being an artist first, and kind of morphed into this business coach that I am today.
Nice. I love it. And I love the trajectory of being a drummer and artist yourself. And I imagine seeing some gaps for artists that needed some support in more of that business side of things, and that you kind of took that and turned it into what you do today. And can you explain a little bit, like, what is the definition of an artistpreneur?
Yeah, so I consider an artistpreneur a creative business owner. You are an entrepreneur. It's entrepreneur and artist put together. Yeah, they're so witty. But yeah, I mean, it to me, and we can get into the deep meaning of creativity in a little bit, but I see most business owners you have to have a little bit of creativity. But what we work with specifically with artistpreneurs they're music focused specifically, but in the creative arts, and they want to just build a business from it. So you've got a business idea, you love building things and infrastructures, but you're also, you're a guitarist or a singer or you're a producer. So we mainly work with musicians, but I see artistpreneurs as, if you have a creative skill and you build a business from it, you're an artistpreneur.
I love it. I like to think that I'm an artistpreneur then. There are so many
Totally.
people who could call themselves artistpreneurs. So I might just adopt that in my own world when I feel like throwing it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. If you got an Etsy shop, artistpreneur. It's you using your creative skill to create revenue. So it's just a beautiful thing. Really great.
It is. It absolutely is. And now let's dig into creativity and what does it mean to you to be creative?
What does it mean to me to be creative? I think innovation comes to mind. Seeing something that exists in front of all of us, but thinking of something that doesn't exist quite yet. Taking things that we see, not necessarily touch, but things that we can see, and build it into something else as opposed to, building something from scratch. So innovation, I also, going back into the business side of creativity, I see it as problem solving, just in general. Got to be creative to do, a crossword puzzle and, all this stuff. Like, it takes creativity to think outside of this linear space that we're, grown to be a part of. So I see it as innovation, problem solving, just across the board. I don't necessarily think all just painters, only painters and artists are creative. All of us absolutely are.
Yeah, I love that. I too believe we're all creative, whatever we do, that creativity is that kind of innate piece that makes us human and makes us,
Yeah.
yeah. So I love that.
I heard this, I don't remember where this was from, but I remember hearing like what really makes us different from the animals is, for instance, an animal is just going to see a piece of food and they're going to eat the piece of food. We, on the other hand, see it and we're like, cool, this one piece of lettuce goes on my sandwich and it goes in a salad and I'll make it. Now it's bread for a sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, we think this one thing, we take it to something else, even the essentials that we need, like food. It's crazy.
I love that reminder though, like how much creativity we're engaging in on a daily basis, like turning a piece of lettuce into something else, like using it instead of bread, like
somebody out there is using lettuce as art right now. Like, I don't know what they're doing, but
100%.
It's art.
It's so true. Absolutely. With all of the artists that you work with, I imagine you, and in your own creative experience, come up against creative challenges or creative blocks. What are some of those creative challenges or blocks that you have experienced? And then how did you navigate them?
A lot of creative blocks, even in business. To get specifics, it's like a lot of what we do in marketing and business is about building out funnels and like, how do we get people's contact information and build these workflows that, do automation for us. If one thing breaks in that, you've got to be creative to fix it. Oh, cool, this one piece of software doesn't work for this one thing I want to do. Well, let's find another thing that wasn't necessarily made for that, but we can make it work. That's creativity. So to get out, to answer your question, to like how we get out of those blocks, I like to change my perspective. If I'm looking at this workflow and I'm like, dude, I have no idea how to fix this. As easy as it sounds, I just go on a little walk. If it's a really big block, I'll go on a walk for like 3 weeks and call it vacation. But change your perspective. Change the people who you're around. Like, have somebody else come and get their eyes on it. Like, that's what I think working in teams helps. Different perspectives in one room will solve a problem faster than one frustrated person. So it's really just a change in perspective, just overall, I would say.
Nice. Now, because it sounds like you work with a team, do you have people on your team who will challenge your ideas or come at it from a really different perspective than you may have ever imagined?
Oh yeah, my team challenges everything, and I think that's the culture that you kind of want. And that's what comes down to innovation. If there was no challenging, there would be no innovation. We'd just be like, cool, we're just going to do this one thing. That's what we're going to do. So that innovation is that spark of creativity. Like, cool, but what about this instead? So yeah, it's definitely welcomed to challenge in a respectful way.
I like the caveat. The respectful way is important for sure. Yeah, I think it's very important, and it's nice to have people like that. How did you create a team of people who will challenge you and who will cheer you on and who will kind of make it a more robust experience, for lack of a better phrase?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I feel like building a team is its own skill. And it's one that I feel really proud of personally. I can read people and I can pick up on like what they're really good at and just speaking with them and leading with empathy. So I feel really good and powerful in like connecting with people, especially my team. So as woo woo as it sounds, I feel like I just attracted the team because
Yeah.
I'm listening and I'm asking questions and they kind of found me. It sounds
Mhm.
wild, but yeah, just over time, you just got to be a people person. And by that, not just tolerate them, but be genuinely curious and excited about their own growth. I'll give you an example. I've got our head coach right now, shout out Leonard Patterson. He during 2020 and before 2020, of course, but we found each other during COVID and connected finally. He was doing like a similar thing to me. Like you would see him as my competition, right? But
Yeah.
I saw a lot of alignment and synergy. And instead of battling it and be like, that's the enemy. Like, no, I connected with him and I was like, hey man, you got this going on. I've got this. Let's team up. And he's like, good, because I'm alone and I'm drowning. So it worked out. So, and it kind of just, we just made it happen. So little things like that, like being team minded, like always thinking of, cool, how can I help this person and how can they also help me? How's that synergy gonna help? And that in itself is creative too. Just everything we're talking about, like there's a hint of creativity in all of it.
Totally. And I love that. And it sounds like you really use the skills and gifts that you have to connect with other people, to listen about what they're talking about. And I think that in and of itself is a skill that is really difficult for many people. They're more focused on what they're thinking versus focusing on what another person is thinking and what they're sharing and how that collaboration can blossom or grow.
Yeah. And I assume you are a therapist, right?
I am.
That was a skill you probably had to maybe tune up a little bit. Like I'm sure that's part of the training is like, all right, you got to listen a lot. Like that's just a piece of it. And so
Yeah,
not a lot of people get that training. So it's
it's
tough.
so true. Yeah. But being able to like use it to your greatest benefit, I think, is super helpful and requires a lot of creativity
Mhm.
in the process of it.
Everything done. Yeah,
Everything, I know, we'll
absolutely.
keep coming back to it. Everything requires creativity. Now, you started as a musician, but what's your earliest memory of being creative?
Earliest memory. I've got my brain just goes towards everybody knows Legos, but do you know what
Yeah,
Connects are?
sure do.
Oh, those were my jam. I love them. I remember just like crouching in a really weird position on the ground, just to paint the whole picture for everybody. Crouched in a weird position. I'm like dumping it all out on the floor and just like making some random stuff. I would sometimes follow the guide and be like, cool, I guess I'll make this race car it tells me to do. But most of the time, I'm just like, I'm going to make some crazy spaceship. I think that's
Yeah,
of course, there's probably something before that, like coloring books or something. But I just remember building cool stuff from Connects and Legos and all that.
nice. I love it. And I mean, it sounds like building things has continued with you
Uh-huh.
in your
Yeah.
life,
Yep.
creativity and how it shows up. And how does that, like, if you were to think about building and creating things without a guide, how does that show up in your
Mm.
life today?
That's yeah, I'm getting therapisted right now. I love that. I mean, to be honest, sometimes it makes me un. I'll definitely be uneasy at times if there isn't a clear process. Like we're all wired to just be like, "Ooh, just give me a to-do list and I'll just do it." I feel like most of us are like that. Maybe it's just me, but I do enjoy that. I think there's a time for both, but there are times where I'm just like, oh, like nobody's around to tell me exactly what step. Oh, I have to build the steps. I guess okay, cool. I got to go back to when I didn't have the guide for Connect. So it definitely shows up
Yeah.
occasionally in my day to day, but um, you just got to like pull the, 5-year-old you out and say, cool, we just got to just pretend.
I love
Imagination time.
Yeah. I mean, the 5-year-old, they have the highest score of creative genius. So why not tap
Hmm.
that into it? That's
Wow,
the,
interesting.
yeah. As adults, we only score 2% on the creative genius test. But at
Yikes.
5,
That's very depressing.
I know. Sorry to bring it down, but like what a gift to be able to tap back into that 5-year-old self where creativity is limitless and you come up with wild ideas that now as adults we're like, oh, actually we can make this work and turn it into something.
Mm, yeah,
So
absolutely.
very cool pieces to come back to and wrap your head around. And
Yeah.
working with artists or people who consider themselves to be creative, how often do you come up against people who think, I'm just not creative or I have no creative ideas in the work that you do?
Anybody who says I have no creative ideas, almost never. It's the opposite, actually. They're like,
Okay.
oh, right side of it's the right side of your brain that's creative, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right side is kicking. It's good. It's full blown. It's the other side that they say, I can't sell. I can't be, I can't be business oriented. I just want to like create. Like, so it's the other side of things that I deal with a lot.
Yeah.
It's you got to have that happy medium.
Right. So how do you deal with that when people say like, oh, I can't sell. I know nothing about that. I just want to create.
Yeah, I tap into exactly what you were talking about before, and I instead of a manual to build a Death Star and Legos, it's here's how you sell. Here,
Um,
anybody can follow a step-by-step process, and that is coming full circle. That's what me and my company do. We give frameworks to creative business owners that are like, I am good at this one thing, but I don't know how to make money. How do I build these businesses? And I say, cool, here's a step-by-step process. Just do these things and
yeah.
build a business and build that skill set so you can continue to grow and continue to also do the things that you love and you pick up a few new skills along the way. So yeah, it's they want the plan. They're like, just give me the 10 steps to make it happen and I'll do it.
Yeah. How did you come up with the plan?
Um, yeah, good question. Lots of training on my end. I have a degree in music business from Chicago here. Taught me a little bit. Not don't really consider myself in the music business anymore, but a mixture of that and like working with a lot of different artists and a lot of different creative businesses and business owners to see how they work. I worked with many coaches myself to build up these skill sets so I can create a plan that makes sense for them. Again, creativity is
Yeah.
taking ideas from other things and making something of your own. So it's essentially what I'm done. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's like yeah, taking something that already exists to make something that's new. Multiple
Yeah.
things that already exist and make something that's new. So I I would take this framework that I got from this coach on marketing and I would combine it with this experience that I had with this business owner in the blues industry and I would mush them together and then I'll kind of combine it with my own experience of what I've experienced in my business and cater
Yeah.
it to this particular business. Random examples, but just taking different ideas, building it, giving it to them and say, hey, cool, follow these steps, it'll work.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. But I think it's great that you can pull from so many different pieces because not everyone learns the same or feels like they can connect to it. So maybe someone who has a blues background be like, now this marketing makes sense to me because you've combined it with that other blues piece that really makes sense. So I
Mm-hmm.
like that,
Yeah.
those connections.
And and being able to showcase that experience online outside of just a old school resume, right? And that's where you get into the realm of you know social media. I
Yeah.
tell this to my clients all the time. Social media is your digital resume. People
Yeah.
who are your clients are going to come to your Instagram and be like, cool, can they solve my problem? Is there an objective there? Cool. What experience do they have? Oh, there's a video about them playing with a blues band. I'm trying to do something in blues. They're making these connections. So being able to showcase that creatively, full circle, online will help you attract your, potential clients, customers, fans, super fans, whatever you want to call them. But it's being able to take those skill sets and present them in a way that would make sense in 2023, which isn't a printed resume anymore.
Yes, this is so true. So, so true. Now, I know you have a deep passion for supporting artists and creatives to make more money in what they do and being artists and creatives. What are some small steps creatives can take to kind of move away from that starving artist trope or mentality that is so prevalent?
Moving away from the starving artist, that is a limiting belief that artists put there themselves. I think.
Yeah. Say more. Tell me more. Like,
they aren't getting a lot of money for, let's talk about musicians specifically. They're not getting a lot of money for shows and merchandise because they're not asking for it. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
Change the game. Instead of just doing the $100 shows, figure out and build the skill sets you need, connect with the right people, learn the right things to be able to start charging $5,000 a show, which is possible. Cool. Maybe it's not at the bar down the street at Louis that has 4 people go in there. Think bigger. Where can I get somebody to pay me $5,000 a show? Corporate gigs, weddings, private parties. You build the right thing, you build the right brand and the right message. There's people out there. There's a luxury price point for almost every industry. So music and creativity, it's there too. You need to be able to have the right skills to find it. So to answer your question, because I didn't quite answer the question yet, it was what are some steps they can take to get out of that? Look at your biggest creative skill set that you have that you feel like you're the biggest expert in. Build some kind of an offer around that. Could take a lot of different forms. Start there. Instead of trying to do all of the things. The motto we have at Artist Collective is do less better. Creatives are really good at, there's a new thing. There's a new thing. There's a new thing. Let's do that too. And then they put their energy a little bit in everywhere and nothing really takes off. That's what's keeping you in that starving artist mentality. If you were just like, I'm going to be the best at making denim bags for moms, do that. You know what I mean? Only do that. Like blinders on. We can be creative, but also be strategic as well. So, that was long-winded, but there's an answer in there.
I appreciate it. I like the reminder of like, be creative and strategic. Like they can coexist.
100%. Yeah. Strategically creative. We're going to coin right now together.
Yes.
Your eyes went real big. You're like, yes.
I love it. No, because I feel like for creatives, they don't have a strategy for things. It is that, I'm distracted over here, and this is a great idea and all these amazing ideas. But the action, that next step of putting it into action, or the focus or the strategy of how to take it to the next step, that where that disconnection happens.
Yeah. I didn't even steal it because we came up with it together, but an artistpreneur is strategically creative.
Ooh,
how about that?
What a tagline. Snaps for that. That's awesome. Use it.
You heard it here first.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Exclusive. Well, this has been such a treat to chat with you. I just have one last question. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
What does it feel like in my body to feel creative? It feels like my brain took the biggest sigh of relief you can think of.
Oh,
Right? Just a big release. That's what it feels like.
oh my gosh, amazing. And I love the permission to take an exhale and to experience that myself, because I know what that feels like. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Keep
we're just
acting.
creative right now. We deserved a sigh of relief.
Yeah, we are. Well, thank you again for taking the time to chat with me. If people want to learn more about your business, about the things that you do, how can they go about doing that?
Absolutely. Thank you. I am mainly on Instagram, so AC_Evan. You can also find the company at Artist Collect or artistcollect.com. Bunch of resources there. You can book a call with my team. Just shoot me a DM. Tell me you're a creative. Whatever. Love to talk to all kinds of people, all kinds of creatives.
Excellent. I will put all of that in show notes so people have easy access. Cool. And thank you again for chatting with me. It has been a pure joy, and I love the creativity.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.